Hi there and welcome to Cars, Drones, Computers. My name is Jim and today we're going to be going over my 1999 Tomos Targa LX 50cc moped. I picked this thing up about a year ago for $20, so I put about another $100 into it, which I will show you guys where all that went and a couple of the mods that I did. And I'll also go ahead and do a little startup for you guys so you can hear how the exhaust sounds. It's got a BiTurbo Exhaust. It's pretty loud. This is a 2-speed model and even came with an extra engine. Well, that looks a little bit better. I got a bunch of the dust, dirt, and sawdust off of it. So I picked this thing up from a coworker who had it in the back of his truck, and he was taking it to the scrapyard. And the guy, it wasn't even his, the guy who wanted him to scrap it because he had a truck, which it seems to be like a lot of truck owners. They just have a truck and then everybody else wants to use it all the time. But anyways, this guy wanted $20 for it. When I grew up, I had a couple of mopeds and I really enjoyed them, and it was like $20, so I said, I'll give you $20 for it. When I got it, it was pretty beat up, and it wasn't white. I ended up painting it white, and, well, didn't do the best job. Put some carbon vinyl just to kind of break it up. The front fairing here was all cracked to bits, so I just kind of reshaped it, cut off the hand guards, and did that to it. Removed the front fender, put some beefier rear go-kart shocks on it here, and then I ended up, had an SSR 125 in here that I picked up and for real cheap, and I ended up taking the front fork off of it and putting it on this and kind of retrofit everything in here. And this suspension is way tougher. I'm a fat guy, and this moped and this suspension actually puts up with me, and I can't even believe that actually rides pretty decently with me on it. The factory front forks that were on it were pretty rusted. I ended up getting them busted loose, but the way they are made, a whole bunch of water collected in the bottom of them, so they were really flimsy and pretty sketchy. So this front tube right here, I had to shorten this by about 1/2 inch in order for the tube that is connected to this fork brace that goes up, so that way it would be long enough. And I was able to do that, and the actual diameter was the same. So I use these 2 bolts and a little bracket here, so that way I could use the factory drum brakes on this, and they still work. I do have the speedometer cable hook up, but it's a little too short because it was worn out, and so that doesn't work, but the speedo does work if I can get the cable replaced. You take your pick there. One says it has 3,500 miles, the other one says it has 1,400 miles, and there's 2 speedometers. This one removes real easy, so I don't know if this is the factory one and it just stopped working, so they kept it in there, or if the other one's factory. I know a lot of these had a cover that sat right here, so maybe somebody knocked that out. I'm not sure. But I was able to get this speedo working. I was in the process of mounting a bicycle speedometer on here, which I'll complete at some point, so that way I get a little bit more accurate speed. So this is your on-off switch. It's your headlight on-off switch. Then over here is your horn button. The horn doesn't work on it yet. And this is your high and low beam, and then of course your turn signals. So I spent $14 for this factory mirror on eBay because it didn't have one. And then just put air in the tires. Of course, a couple dollars in paint. Got the suspension off of things I had sitting around the house, so didn't really pay much, if anything, for that. You know what? Let me flip this thing around so I can show you guys the other side. Give me a sec. Okay, so the most expensive thing was this BiTurbo Exhaust right here. That was about $85 for this tune pipe, and because when I got it, it didn't have any exhaust at all. Another thing I had to do is I spent roughly $20 for a carburetor. I believe I got it on Amazon. It's a knockoff carburetor. It might have been eBay. It was pretty cheap. So you can see there's quite a bit of rust in there, but I ended up having to replace the fuel petcock, put on a fresh fuel filter, it's a new fuel line. I do need to fix right here. You can see I've got this spring that I bought. This kickstand likes to fall down while you're riding. I tried to brace it. The factory spring is a little too weak and the geometry is kind of off. Because I put this longer rear shock on, you can see there's quite a bit of gap under here. So this kickstand's not quite tall enough. If you really want to rev it out, you got to kind of lead it to the side a little bit. But it supports my weight quite a bit better. Definitely have some plastic work. Got this big old hole right here, and right over here it's kind of all chewed up. The little choke lever sits right down here. This moped came with an oil injection system, which I ended up removing. It used to sit right here underneath this seat. There's just a little lever right here in the back, and it ran oil lines all the way down here. Right off the crankshaft was the little oil pump. So I made my own little block off plate out of a piece of aluminum and used another screw to block the hole. Sealed it all up, and I just run premix in this with some AMSOIL because I don't trust old oil injection systems, and it makes a mess, and keeps things simple if I just go ahead and pre-mix it. When I grew up, I actually used to ride one of these in a soybean field. It's perfect for that. Let me go ahead and get the garage door open here and get this thing flipped around and see if we can get it started for you. I'm gonna go ahead and choke it. Let it sit. When it switches all the way to the right, that's the on position. When it's all the way to the left, that's the off position. Now I have to pick it up because the kickstand's not too tall. Give it a couple kicks. Okay, so then, all right, so there you go. So there's a little bit of the sound. I'm going to go ahead and close this out for now. So in the future, I'd like to show you guys a little clip of it actually running, going down the road, and how it shifts into second gear. It's dark outside right now, so really don't want to, and I really need to fix that kickstand that keeps falling down. So my buddy rode it, he was riding at night, and the kickstand came down and ended up throwing sparks for the whole way down the road. It's pretty funny to see, but I need to definitely get that fixed. And so I also noticed that when the right front turn signal comes on, the left rear signal comes on. So I need to go ahead and I got one of them switched, I guess. So I'll switch that out too, so get that working. And then I also want to get the speedo working. But I was actually thinking about hooking my little GPS tracker Dragy, and you guys can check that out in the link below. But it's a, I think it's a 10 or 20 hertz based GPS that maybe I could get a good 0 to 30 time or something with this thing and actually see how fast it is today. I know these were really popular back in the 70s and 80s during the fuel crisis. You know, it's pretty crazy for 50 cc's. The thing actually has quite a bit of get up and go. Also, when I got this moped, in a little plastic bag, there was this other engine, the spare motor. Here's a spare cylinder head. And this is missing the jug. The piston's pretty scarred up here. But that's how big the piston is in that. And for a frame of reference, here is a paint can right behind it. The crank doesn't feel all that terrible actually in it. If I flip it up here, now this thing is pretty nasty, but you can see the part of the little transmission that sits inside of it. When you flip it to the other side, I guess this is part of the magneto right there. That's the little gear that sits behind that cover plate that I made. That's supposed to spin the oil injection pump, but I figured I'd keep it around. This is supposed to go on something like that, if you could picture that on the moped. Anyways, that's all I have for now. I'll definitely take this thing out riding sometime and show you guys that and put Dragy on it and get some good 0 to 60 times. Or, who am I kidding? Getting some good 0 to 30 times. Thank you all for watching Cars, Drones, Computers. I'm trying to spread out all the content so that you get computers some days, some drone and quad related things other days, and of course keep the car content coming as well. I'm also in the near future going to go over my 1998 BMW 328IS and some of the mods that I did to it. So please don't forget to like and subscribe if you guys would like to see more content on this channel. And thank you all for your support. Have a great day. Bye for now.